The alien observation deck buzzed with activity as dozens of species gathered around the massive viewing screens. The Galactic Council's annual Primitive Species Exhibition had drawn representatives from across the galaxy, all eager to mock the backward creatures of various underdeveloped worlds. "Ladies and," announced the reptilian host whose scales shimmered under the artificial lights, "welcome to this cycle's most entertaining display of evolutionary failures." The crowd erupted in chittering, buzzing, and various sounds that passed for laughter among the assembled aliens. Dr. Sarah sat quietly in the human observation section, her jaw clenched as she watched her people's sacred duty being turned into a circus act. "First up," continued with visible glee, "we have Earth's most ridiculous legend, the so-called Bigfoot, or Sasquatch. These primitive bipedal creatures supposedly roam the forests of the human, leaving nothing but blurry photographs and questionable footprints." The main screen flickered to life, showing grainy footage of a large, hairy humanoid creature walking through a forest clearing. The alien audience exploded with derision. "Look at this pathetic fabrication," squealed a crystalline being, its faceted body refracting light in patterns of amusement. "The humans are so desperate for mystery that they invent imaginary creatures." A towering metallic delegate added his mechanical voice to the mockery. "Our species discovered faster-than-light travel while these humans chase shadows in their forests. How did such a primitive race ever achieve?" Sarah's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. As Earth's chief and the only human representative at this gathering, she felt the weight of her species' reputation on her shoulders. The other aliens had no idea what they were really looking at, but she knew the truth. Humanity had kept certain secrets, even from their galactic neighbors. "Perhaps," suggested a flowing, jellyfish-like aquatic being, "we should send an expedition to Earth to hunt down these mythical beasts. I'm sure we could capture one for our zoos." "If they even exist," caught a bird-like alien, its feathers ruffling with mirth. Raised a clawed hand for silence. "Actually, dear colleagues, we have a special treat today. Our human representative, Doctor, has graciously agreed to provide us with expert testimony about these legendary creatures." Every eye, sensor, and optical organ in the room turned toward Sarah. She could feel their condescending attention like a physical weight. The pressure to defend her species warred with her duty to protect classified information. Doctor purred, his forked tongue flicking out with anticipation. "Please enlighten us about your species' fascinating relationship with these imaginary forest dwellers." Sarah stood slowly, her mind racing through decades of carefully guarded protocols. The Bigfoot specimens weren't just Earth's secret, they were Earth's insurance policy. Hidden away in facilities that officially didn't exist, protected by the highest levels of military clearance, they represented humanity's ace in the hole. "The footage you've shown," Sarah began carefully, "represents only what the general population has been allowed to see." A hush fell over the assembled aliens. This wasn't the embarrassed backpedaling they had expected. "You see," Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger, "humanity has learned that some truths are too dangerous for public consumption. Some secrets are kept not out of shame, but out of necessity." His eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting that these creatures actually exist?" "I'm suggesting," Sarah replied, meeting his gaze directly, "that your species have made a fundamental error in assuming that primitive equals powerless." The alien audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't going according to their script of human humiliation. A massive, bear-like alien from the Ursine Confederation growled, "Enough riddles, human, speak plainly. Do these Bigfoot creatures exist or not?" Sarah felt a moment of profound decision. Her orders had been clear: maintain plausible deniability at all costs. But as she looked at the sea of mocking faces, she realized that sometimes the best defense was a strategic offense. "They exist," she said simply. The room erupted in chaos. Aliens chittered, buzzed, and roared their disbelief and derision, but Sarah wasn't finished. "They exist, and they're not animals," she continued over the noise. "They're not primitive forest dwellers or evolutionary throwbacks. They're Earth's first attempt at biological enhancement, living weapons created during our darkest conflicts." The noise died abruptly. Even the most arrogant aliens recognized the implications of weaponized biology. "Impossible," whispered the crystalline being, its light patterns flickering with uncertainty. Your scientists have studied human genetics, Sarah pressed. You know we're already remarkably adaptable for a baseline species. What did you think we would create when we started deliberately improving ourselves? Scales had darkened to a deep, troubled green. You're claiming that humans created super soldiers and then, what, lost them in the woods? Not lost, Sarah corrected. Hidden, protected, kept in reserve. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Around the room, she could see alien minds recalculating their assumptions about humanity's capabilities. The footage you've been watching isn't from curious cryptozoologists, Sarah explained. It's from our monitoring systems. We track every specimen, every movement, every behavioral pattern. The blurry photos and questionable evidence aren't signs of human gullibility, they're signs of our operational security. A thin alien's mandibles clicked nervously. Why are you telling us this? Sarah smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. Because you've made a critical mistake that many species make when dealing with humans. You've confused our transparency with our capability. You think because we share some information freely, we share all information freely. The implications hung heavy in the recycled air. If humans had biological weapons this sophisticated and had managed to keep them secret for generations, what else were they hiding? But surely, stammered the aquatic being, its translucent form rippling with anxiety, these are just isolated specimens, laboratory curiosities. Sarah's smile widened, and for the first time the aliens saw something predatory in human expression. That's what you'd hope, isn't it? She began walking slowly around the chamber, forcing the aliens to turn and follow her movement. You see, the thing about Earth is that we have a lot of forests, a lot of remote areas, a lot of places where large, intelligent, enhanced beings could live undetected by the general population. How many? The question came from the metallic delegate, his voice modulator barely concealing his concern. That's classified, Sarah replied simply. But I can tell you that every continent has its legends of large, elusive humanoids, the Yeti, the skunk ape, the monster. She paused at each name, watching alien faces grow more worried. We humans are very good at creating local folklore to hide global realities. The bird-like alien's feathers were now standing fully erect in alarm. Surely your own people would have noticed military-grade biological weapons living in their forests. Would they? Sarah challenged. Consider what you know about human psychology. We're the species that can ignore obvious truths when they're inconvenient and believe in elaborate fantasies when they're comforting. If we wanted to hide super soldiers in plain sight, we'd make them into myths, legends, stories that most people dismiss as nonsense. She stopped walking and faced the assembly directly. The perfect camouflage for a secret weapon isn't invisibility, it's incredibility. His claws scraped against his control console. Even if what you say is true, these are individual creatures, powerful perhaps, but hardly a significant military factor. Sarah's expression grew serious. That brings us to the second mistake you've made. You've assumed that because these beings avoid human contact, they're antisocial, solitary, unable to coordinate. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. What are you saying? Whispered the crystalline being. I'm saying, Sarah replied slowly, that enhanced intelligence includes enhanced capacity for organization, for communication, for collective action. She paused, choosing her words carefully. For following orders. The silence that followed was deafening. Every alien in the room was beginning to understand the true implications of what they had been mocking. Ladies and, Sarah concluded, her voice carrying across the stunned chamber, you've spent the afternoon laughing at what you thought were Earth's most ridiculous legends. But legends, as any human child could tell you, often contain more truth than fiction. She moved toward the exit, then turned back for one final comment. Oh, and that expedition you mentioned, the one to hunt down and capture these creatures for your zoos. Her smile was neither warm nor reassuring. I wouldn't recommend it. As the door closed behind Dr. Sarah, the alien assembly sat in stunned silence. Finally, Beg Admiral of the Reptilian Defense Fleet paced the command deck of his flagship, his scales rippling with agitation. 3 days had passed since the disastrous exhibition, and the alien representatives were demanding action. What had begun as an afternoon of entertainment had transformed into a potential security crisis. Sir, his communications officer hissed, we're receiving priority transmissions from 17 different member worlds. They all want the same thing. His tail lashed behind him. Let me guess, they want proof that the humans were bluffing. Correct, sir. Several delegations are threatening to withdraw their support for human membership in the Council if we don't investigate these claims. On Earth, in a facility that didn't appear on any official maps, Doctor received an encrypted message that made his blood run cold. The message was brief, direct, and carried the highest possible security classification. Revelation Protocol ACTIVATED. Prepare for contact. Immediately understood the implications. Doctor had been forced to reveal the existence of the Sasquatch program. After 40 years of complete secrecy, the galaxy now knew about humanity's most classified biological assets. He activated the emergency communication system that connected him directly to every Sasquatch monitoring station across the globe. Within minutes, responses flooded in from facilities hidden in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, the mountains of the Himalayas, the swamps of the American Southeast, and dozens of other locations worldwide. All stations report Code 7 status, his aide announced. The subjects are responding to the alert. Nodded grimly. Code 7 meant the Sasquatch specimens had detected the elevated threat level and were moving into defensive positions. Enhanced intelligence came with enhanced situational awareness, and after decades of peaceful coexistence, they could sense when their security was compromised. Meanwhile, aboard the reptilian flagship, Admiral was reviewing intelligence reports about Earth's defensive capabilities. The data was routine orbital defense platforms, a modest space fleet, ground-based energy weapons. Nothing that couldn't be overwhelmed by a determined alien force. Admiral, his tactical officer announced, long-range sensors detect no unusual military activity on Earth. Their defenses remain at normal levels. Good, replied. If these enhanced creatures truly exist, the humans are remarkably confident about keeping them secret. What the alien sensors couldn't detect were the subtle signs of mobilization occurring in Earth's wilderness areas. Deep in the forests of British Columbia, a family group of 7 Sasquatch specimens received their activation signals through implanted biocommunication devices. Their enhanced nervous systems processed the information instantaneously. Potential hostile contact. Prepare for defensive operations. The alpha male, designated Subject 1 in classified files, but known to his family simply as, stood nearly 10 feet tall and possessed strength that could tear through military-grade armor. His partner, Subject 2, was equally formidable but specialized in reconnaissance and stealth operations. Their offspring, ranging in age from 12 to 30 in human years, had been trained from birth in both survival skills and combat tactics. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the Himalayas, a group of 8 specimens emerged from hidden caves, their fur naturally adapted to extreme cold, giving them perfect camouflage against the snowy peaks. In the swamplands of Louisiana, 5 specimens moved through the murky waters with the silence of predators, their enhanced respiratory systems allowing them to remain submerged for hours. Doctor watched the global status board as green lights turned amber across every monitoring station. The subjects weren't panicking or going rogue. They were following protocols that had been drilled into them for decades. Protocols that no alien force had ever encountered. Sir, his communications specialist called out, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council fleet. They're requesting permission to conduct scientific surveys of our remote wilderness areas. Almost laughed at the euphemism. Scientific surveys meant hunting expeditions, and the aliens had no idea what they were volunteering to hunt. Patch me through to Admiral Harrison, ordered. Within minutes, he was speaking directly to the commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces. Admiral, how long until the alien fleet reaches our system? 6 hours, maybe 7, Admiral Harrison replied. They're not trying to hide their approach. 3 heavy cruisers and a science vessel, enough firepower to level a city, but not enough for a full invasion. They're not planning an invasion, said quietly. They're planning a safari. Back in space, Admiral was briefing his landing teams. According to the humans' own admission, these creatures inhabit forested regions and avoid populated areas. We'll conduct systematic sweeps of the most likely habitats, the Pacific Northwest, the Appalachian Mountains, and the Amazon Basin. His chief science officer, a tall, skeletal being from the bone worlds, consulted his. Sir, Even if these enhanced creatures exist, they're still essentially animals. Our standard capture equipment should be more than adequate. Don't underestimate them, warned. The human female seemed unusually confident, but enhanced or not, they're still biological entities. They can be tracked, cornered, and captured. What Admiral didn't understand was that the Sasquatch program had been designed by humans who understood both alien technology and alien psychology. Every enhancement had been specifically chosen to counter the most common alien advantages. Enhanced strength to overcome technological superiority. Enhanced speed and agility to evade aerial pursuit. Enhanced intelligence to anticipate and counter advanced tactics. Most importantly, enhanced pack coordination that allowed them to function as a unified military force despite being scattered across the globe. As the alien fleet entered Earth's solar system, Doctor made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He activated the Revelation Protocol's final stage. Across the Earth, every Sasquatch specimen received the same message through their biocommunication implants. Hostile forces incoming. You are cleared to defend yourselves and your territory using any means necessary. Repeat, any means necessary. For the first time in 40 years, Earth's hidden guardians were being given permission to reveal their true capabilities. Received the message while standing on a ridge overlooking the valley where his family had lived in secret for 2 decades. His enhanced hearing could detect the atmospheric disturbance of descending alien craft from 50 miles away. His enhanced vision could see the energy signatures of their engines against the night sky. He turned to his family, communicating through a combination of subsonic vocalizations and sign language that no human had ever fully decoded. The message was simple and direct. The time for hiding is over. Similar scenes played out at monitoring stations worldwide. Enhanced beings who had spent decades perfecting the art of avoiding human contact were now preparing to reveal themselves to an enemy that had no idea what they were facing. Doctor watched his screens as biosignatures across the globe began moving in coordinated patterns. The subjects weren't just responding to individual threats. They were implementing a global defensive strategy that had been programmed into their enhanced neural structures from birth. "Sir," his aide asked nervously, "are we really going to let this happen?" Thought about Doctor, alone on that alien ship, facing the mockery and contempt of species that considered humanity primitive and worthless. He thought about the decades of careful preparation, the resources invested, and the trust placed in these enhanced beings. 40 years ago, he said quietly, we created them to protect humanity from threats we couldn't even imagine. Today, we find out if we succeeded. The alien landing craft touched down in a forest clearing in Washington state, their crews confident that they were about to capture some primitive woodland creatures for their amusement. They had no way of knowing that they had just entered a hunting ground that had been prepared for them by the most dangerous predators their species had ever encountered. As the first alien troops emerged from their landing craft, and his family watched from positions of perfect concealment just beyond the tree line, the aliens' thermal sensors detected nothing. Their motion detectors registered only normal forest activity. Their confidence was absolute. It was exactly what humanity had been counting on. The first alien hunting party consisted of 12 elite soldiers from 3 different species, armed with energy weapons and equipped with the most advanced tracking technology their civilizations could provide. Commander H, a seasoned reptilian warrior, led the group into the dense forests of Olympic National Park with absolute confidence. "Spread out in formation Delta," he ordered through his comm system. "These creatures are large and supposedly intelligent, but they're still primitives hiding in trees. Our thermal imaging will locate them within hours." What Commander H didn't know was that, and his family had been watching the alien landing from the moment their ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Enhanced hearing had detected the engine frequencies from orbit. Enhanced vision had tracked their descent trajectory. Enhanced intelligence had calculated exactly where they would land and how they would deploy. Doctor monitored the situation from his command center, watching both the alien movements through military satellites and the Sasquatch positions through their biosignature transponders. The two forces were moving toward each other like pieces on a chess board, but only one side understood the game being played. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, Subject 1 and his family group have positioned themselves in a classic ambush formation. They're using terrain features that completely negate the aliens' technological advantages. On the ground, crouched behind a massive fallen cedar tree, his enhanced nervous system processing information at superhuman speed. He could hear the aliens' heartbeats from 300 yards away. He could smell their fierce scent and the metallic tang of their weapons. Most importantly, he could predict their movement patterns with the tactical awareness that had been programmed into his enhanced brain. His mate signaled silently from her position across the clearing, 3 aliens approaching from the north. His eldest son confirmed movement from the east. His daughter reported all clear to the south and west. The alien hunters were walking directly into a killing zone. Commander H paused as his motion sensors detected what appeared to be large wildlife moving through the forest. "Contact possible," he whispered into his comm. "Multiple heat signatures approximately 200 meters ahead." "Are you certain they're the target creatures?" asked his second-in-command, a tall warrior whose compound eyes could detect motion across a wide spectrum. "Negative, but they're large enough. Could be the enhanced beings the human mentioned, or could be native fauna. Either way, we investigate." The alien squad advanced through the undergrowth, their advanced armor protecting them from thorns and branches, but making no allowance for the complete silence that enhanced beings could achieve when necessary. To his enhanced hearing, they sounded like a parade marching through his territory. Doctor, still aboard the Galactic Council ship, received updates on the situation through encrypted military channels. Admiral and his staff were monitoring the landing party's progress with growing excitement. "First contact with potential targets confirmed," announced the alien communications officer. "Commander H reports multiple large creatures in the target area." Admiral's scales rippled with satisfaction. "Excellent. Begin recording everything for the evidence files. The Council will want complete documentation of these so-called enhanced beings." Doctor said nothing, but she felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. She had spent her career studying alien psychology, and she knew that arrogance was often the precursor to catastrophe. Back in the forest, made his decision. He had spent 40 years perfecting the art of avoiding human contact, but these aliens represented a threat to everything he and his family had built. More importantly, they represented a threat to the human species that had created and protected him. He signaled his family, "Execute Defensive Protocol 7, non-lethal takedown, capture for interrogation." The alien squad was advancing through a narrow valley when the attack began. It started with their technology failing in ways that seemed impossible. Thermal imaging systems suddenly showed heat signatures everywhere, in the trees, in the ground, in the air itself. Motion detectors triggered constantly, unable to distinguish between falling leaves and approaching threats. Communication systems filled with static that seemed to follow no recognizable pattern. "Sir," the warrior reported nervously, "our sensors are malfunctioning. I'm reading heat sources in all directions, but visual confirmation shows nothing." Commander H checked his own equipment and found the same problem. Possible electromagnetic interference. Switch to visual tracking and maintain formation. What the aliens didn't realize was that family possessed technology of their own bio-integrated systems that could generate false heat signatures and disrupt electronic signals without producing any detectable emissions. 40 years of human military research had gone into making them the perfect counter to advanced alien technology. The first alien to disappear was the rear guard, a massive bear-like creature from the Ursine Confederation. One moment he was maintaining his position at the back of the formation, the next moment there was only empty forest. His weapon lay on the ground, undamaged but abandoned. "Is missing," reported the squad's communications specialist. "No signs of struggle, no energy weapon discharge. He's simply gone." Commander H felt the first stirrings of genuine concern. Enhanced beings or not, creatures that could make a fully armored Ursine warrior vanish without a trace were far more dangerous than he had anticipated. "Defensive circle," he ordered. "Watch all approaches." The remaining 11 aliens formed a tight formation, weapons ready, scanning the forest around them for any sign of movement. Their enhanced vision, thermal imaging, and motion detection systems all functioned perfectly, and all showed them absolutely nothing. Watched from a position less than 50 feet away, his natural camouflage and enhanced stealth capabilities rendering him completely invisible to alien sensors. Behind him, his captured prisoner lay unconscious, secured with restraints that would hold him safely until the engagement was complete. The Sasquatch Enhancement Program had included extensive study of alien physiology and psychology. Each specimen had been programmed with detailed knowledge of how different alien species responded to stress, fear, and tactical pressure. Knew exactly how to dismantle this hunting party without killing a single member. The second alien to vanish was the communications specialist, taken while the others were focused on external threats. The third was one of the warriors, removed from the formation so smoothly that his companions didn't realize he was missing for several minutes. "We're being hunted," whispered the remaining, his compound eyes darting frantically in all directions. Commander H was forced to agree. Whatever these creatures were, they possessed tactical capabilities that far exceeded anything in the alien intelligence reports. They were fighting an enemy that could remain completely undetected while systematically dismantling their force. "Fall back to the landing zone," he ordered. "We need air support and reinforcements." But as the remaining 8 aliens began their retreat, they discovered that the forest around them had somehow changed. Paths that had been clear during their advance were now blocked by fallen trees. Terrain that had been easily navigable was suddenly filled with obstacles. Landmarks they had used for navigation were no longer visible. "The forest is wrong," reported one of the reptilian soldiers, his voice tight with growing panic. "This isn't the same route we took in." Doctor watched the tactical display with professional satisfaction. The Sasquatch specimens weren't just using their enhanced abilities to hunt the aliens. They were demonstrating sophisticated battlefield engineering, reshaping the terrain to control their enemy's movement. "Sir," his aide reported, "the alien landing party has lost 50% of their personnel without firing a single shot. Their communication with their ship is being systematically disrupted." On the alien command ship, Admiral was beginning to understand that his hunting expedition had become a rescue mission. "Launch backup teams to all 3 landing sites," he ordered, "and prepare orbital bombardment as a fallback option." But deep in the forests of 3 different continents, similar scenes were playing out. Enhanced beings who had spent decades perfecting the art of invisibility were now demonstrating that they could be equally effective as visible threats. His family had successfully captured 9 of the 12 alien soldiers without causing permanent harm to any of them. The remaining 3 were huddled in a defensive position, their weapons trained on empty forest and their nerves stretched to the breaking point. It was time for the revelation that would change everything. Stepped out of the forest into full view of the remaining aliens, his 10-foot frame covered in natural camouflage that shifted and moved like living shadow. His enhanced features were clearly artificial, too symmetrical, too purposeful to be natural evolution. His eyes held an intelligence that was unmistakably engineered. "You came looking for animals," he said in perfect standard galactic, his enhanced vocal cords producing sounds no natural throat could make. "You found something else entirely." The 3 remaining aliens stared in shock as more figures emerged from the forest around them. His family revealed themselves one by one, enhanced beings who looked like legends, but moved with the precision of soldiers. "We are not animals," continued, his voice carrying clearly through the forest. "We are not legends. We are Earth's guardians, and you have trespassed on our territory." Commander H found his voice with difficulty. What do you want?" His expression was unreadable. "We want you to take a message back to your fleet. Tell them that humanity's secrets run deeper than they imagined. Tell them that mockery has consequences." He gestured to the unconscious forms of the captured aliens, arranged carefully in the clearing where they would be easily recovered. "Your people will live. They will return to their ship unharmed, but they will remember this day, and they will tell others what they learned here." Took a step closer, and the remaining aliens could see the subtle technological enhancements integrated into his biology. The bioluminescent patches that could disrupt sensors, the reinforced bone structure that could withstand energy weapons, the enhanced musculature that could tear through armor. "Earth has many secrets," he said quietly. "This was just one of them." Az and his family melted back into the forest, leaving the aliens alone with their unconscious comrades and their shattered assumptions. Doctor received reports from monitoring stations around the globe. Every alien hunting party had met the same fate: captured, educated, and released with a message. That Admiral stared at the tactical display aboard his flagship, his scales dark with confusion and growing fear. 3 separate hunting parties, composed of the galaxy's most elite soldiers, had been systematically dismantled by creatures that weren't supposed to exist. Worse, his surviving personnel were reporting encounters with beings that every assumption about Earth's capabilities. "Sir," his communications officer reported with barely concealed panic, "we're receiving video transmissions from all 3 landing sites. You need to see this." The main screen activated, showing Commander H's pale face surrounded by the unconscious forms of his captured squad mates. Behind him, the forest loomed with a menace that had nothing to do with natural dangers. "Admiral," H began, his voice strained, "the mission parameters were incorrect. The creatures we encountered are not animals or primitive beings. They're engineered weapons systems with capabilities that exceed our current understanding." His claws scraped against his command console. "Explain." "Sir, they demonstrated technologies we can't identify. Bio-integrated stealth systems, electromagnetic disruption capabilities, and tactical coordination that suggests a command and control network beyond our sensors' ability to detect." The screen split to show reports from the other 2 landing sites. Similar stories emerged from the Amazon and the Himalayas' elite alien soldiers, reduced to helpless confusion by beings that seemed to materialize from folklore itself. But it was the final message that sent shock waves through the alien command structure. Appeared on screen, his enhanced features clearly visible, speaking directly to the alien fleet. "I am Subject 1 of Earth's Enhanced Guardian Program," he said, his artificially perfect standard galactic carrying an unmistakable threat. "For 40 years, my people have protected this world through concealment and misdirection. Today, you have forced us to reveal ourselves." Admiral found himself leaning forward despite his fear. The being on the screen was clearly artificial, too perfect, too purposeful to be a natural evolution. But the intelligence behind those engineered eyes was absolutely genuine. "Your hunting parties came seeking animals to capture for your amusement," continued. "They found guardians instead. We have taken no lives, but we have taken measurements." The implication sent chills through every alien watching. Measurements meant intelligence gathering, analysis, tactical assessment. "We know the capabilities of your weapons, your armor, your tactics, and your species' physical limitations. We have recorded your technological signatures and developed countermeasures for your primary defensive systems." Paused, allowing the full weight of his words to sink in. "This information has been transmitted to Guardian units across your galaxy. We are not isolated to Earth." The statement hit the alien fleet like a physical blow. If Earth had managed to place enhanced biological agents throughout galactic space without detection, the implications for every civilization's security were staggering. Doctor watched the alien fleet's response from his command center, noting the sudden spike in their communication traffic and the energy signatures that indicated weapons systems coming online. The aliens were panicking, which made them dangerous. "Sir," his aide reported, "the alien flagship is charging main batteries. It looks like they're preparing for orbital bombardment." Activated the emergency protocols he had hoped never to use. Across Earth's surface, hidden installations that had remained dormant for decades suddenly came online. The planet's true defenses began to reveal themselves. "All Guardian units," he broadcast on the emergency frequency, "implement Revelation Protocol Level 5. Full disclosure authorized." On the alien flagship, Admiral was indeed preparing to reduce large portions of Earth's forest to radioactive ash. If these enhanced beings were as dangerous as they appeared, they needed to be eliminated before they could spread their influence further. "Target the primary forest regions," he ordered. "Maximum yield weapons will sterilize the entire ecosystem if necessary." But as his weapons systems locked onto their targets, his tactical officer made a discovery that changed everything. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures emerging from the planetary surface. The humans have been hiding defense installations that our initial scans completely missed." The main screen shifted to show a global view of Earth, now lit up with hundreds of energy sources that had been invisible just moments before. Defense platforms, hidden weapon systems, and installation after installation that had somehow evaded detection despite 40 years of alien observation. "How is this possible?" demanded. His science officer provided the answer that no one wanted to hear. "Sir, if they could hide enhanced biological weapons for 4 decades without detection, they could hide anything. Our entire intelligence assessment of Earth's capabilities appears to have been completely wrong." Doctor, still aboard the council ship, watched the unfolding drama with mixed emotions. She had wanted to prove humanity's strength, but she hadn't wanted to trigger an interstellar incident. Now she could only hope that the full revelation of Earth's secrets would lead to respect rather than war. The communication channel activated again, and this time it wasn't speaking. Doctor's face appeared on alien screens across the fleet, his expression calm but his eyes hard with determination. "Admiral," he began, "I am Doctor, Director of Earth's Enhanced Guardian Program. I believe your hunting expedition has concluded." His voice was tight with barely controlled aggression. "Doctor, you have concealed military assets from the Galactic Council. This is a violation of 17 different treaties." "Actually," replied smoothly, "it's not. Our enhanced guardians are classified as wildlife preservation assets, not military weapons. Our defense installations are registered with the Council as environmental monitoring stations. Everything we've done has been completely legal." The alien admiral's scales flushed dark red with rage. "Legal technicalities won't protect you if I decide to classify Earth as a rogue state." His expression didn't change. "Admiral, I suggest you consider the implications of what you've learned today before making any hasty decisions. Your fleet represents a significant portion of the reptilian military's deep space capability. Are you prepared to risk it on an attack against a planet whose true defenses you're only beginning to understand?" As if to emphasize his point, the energy signatures surrounding Earth began to shift and focus. Weapons that had been hidden for decades were now tracking the alien fleet with obvious intent. But it was his voice that delivered the message that ended the standoff. "Admiral," the enhanced being said, appearing once again on the communication channel, "you came here to capture animals for your zoos. Instead, you've discovered that Earth's animals have been watching your zoos for quite some time." The screen shifted to show surveillance footage that made every alien present freeze in recognition. Video from their home worlds, their military installations, their supposedly secure facilities, all recorded with technology that had somehow bypassed their most sophisticated detection systems. "Enhanced Guardians have been observing galactic civilization for 2 decades," explained calmly. "Not as spies, but as protectors. Every world that has threatened Earth's interests has been under surveillance. Every military facility that has planned aggressive action has been monitored." Admiral realized he was staring at footage of his own fleet's staging area, taken from angles that should have been impossible to achieve. The implications were staggering. If Earth could place surveillance assets anywhere in the galaxy without detection, no alien civilization was truly secure. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No," corrected. "This is human. You've made the same mistake that many species make when evaluating our capabilities. You've assumed that because we appear similar to you, we think like you. You've forgotten that humans are the species that turns disadvantages into advantages, that finds opportunity in limitation." Took over the explanation. "Enhanced Guardians aren't just weapons, Admiral. They're ambassadors, researchers, protectors. For 20 years, they've been living among your populations, learning your cultures, understanding your weaknesses and your strengths." The communication channel split to show dozens of different screens, enhanced beings in various alien environments, perfectly disguised as local species, integrated into societies that had no idea they were hosting Earth's agents. "Every major galactic civilization has guardian units monitoring their activities," continued. "Not to threaten you, but to protect humanity's interests. Today's revelation isn't about demonstrating our weapons, it's about demonstrating our reach." Admiral found himself in a position he had never experienced before, completely outmaneuvered by an enemy he had underestimated so badly that he couldn't even calculate the scope of his mistake. "What do you want?" he asked finally. His expression might have been a smile, though it was hard to tell on his enhanced features. "We want what we've always wanted, Admiral, to be left alone, to protect our people, to ensure that Earth's secrets remain Earth's secrets." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. You came here expecting to hunt legends. Instead, you've learned that some legends prefer to remain hidden. I suggest you respect that preference. The communication channel closed, leaving Admiral and his fleet alone with the knowledge that their understanding of the galaxy had just been fundamentally altered. 6 months after the revelation at Earth, the Galactic Council convened for its most extraordinary session in recorded history. Representatives from every major civilization gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, but the atmosphere was markedly different from their previous meeting. Gone was the casual mockery and condescending superiority that had characterized alien attitudes toward humanity. In its place was a careful respect tinged with uncertainty, and in some cases, genuine fear. Dr. Sarah entered the assembly hall to find herself treated as an equal for the first time since humanity had joined the galactic community. Delegates who had previously ignored her presence now nodded respectfully as she passed. Some even stepped aside to give her clear passage to the human section. The change in alien behavior had begun immediately after Admiral's fleet returned to reptilian space with their reports of Earth's hidden capabilities. Within days, every major intelligence service in the galaxy was reassessing their understanding of human civilization. The results had been sobering. "The session will come to order," announced Chancellor Yu, the ancient crystalline being who presided over council meetings. "Today we address the implications of recent revelations regarding Earth's undisclosed assets." The formal language couldn't hide the fundamental shift that had occurred. Humanity was no longer the member of an exclusive club. They were potentially the most dangerous player at the table. Doctor stood when recognized, her demeanor calm despite the weight of galactic attention focused on her. "Honored delegates, I appear before you today not to apologize for my species' discretion, but to discuss the future of human-alien relations." A murmur rippled through the assembly. The human wasn't asking for forgiveness or making excuses. She was establishing terms. "Over the past 6 months," she continued, "your governments have undoubtedly conducted extensive reviews of human activities within your territories. I imagine you've made some interesting discoveries." Indeed, they had. Hidden Guardian units had been identified on 17 different worlds, integrated so seamlessly into local populations that their presence had never been suspected. Surveillance networks had been uncovered that provided Earth with real-time intelligence on every major galactic power. Most disturbing of all, economic analyses had revealed that human trade agreements had systematically positioned Earth's interests in ways that gave them enormous leverage over alien supply chains. Ambassador, who had hosted the original exhibition, spoke with considerably less arrogance than he had displayed 6 months earlier. "Doctor, the Council requires assurance that Earth's enhanced assets pose no threat to galactic stability." Sarah smiled, but it wasn't a warm expression. "Ambassador, I think you're asking the wrong question. The question isn't whether our assets pose a threat, it's whether that threat is directed at you." The distinction sent a chill through the assembly. It implied that Earth's enhanced guardians were already active, already deployed, already watching. Chancellor Yu's crystalline structure flickered with concern. "Doctor, please clarify your species' intentions regarding these enhanced beings." "Our intentions haven't changed," Sarah replied simply. "We created enhanced guardians to protect humanity and human interests. They will continue to serve that function. However, their operational parameters have been updated in light of recent events." What she didn't say, but what every alien in the room understood, was that humanity's definition of threats had expanded. Species that had previously been considered harmless neighbors were now being evaluated as potential enemies. Admiral, attending as a representative of the reptilian defense fleet, spoke for the first time. "Doctor, my personal encounter with these enhanced beings revealed capabilities that far exceed our initial assessments. How many such entities does Earth maintain?" Sarah's expression remained neutral. "Admiral, I believe you're familiar with the human concept of need to know. That information falls outside your current authorization level." The casual dismissal of a senior military commander sent shock waves through the alien delegates. 6 months ago, no human would have dared to deny information to a Galactic Council member. Now, humanity was treating the Council as equals at best, potential threats at worst. Doctor's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Honored delegates, perhaps it would be helpful to discuss what has changed and what has remained the same. The main display activated, showing a comprehensive overview of Guardian operations that had previously been completely hidden. The scope was staggering enhanced beings on dozens of worlds, surveillance networks spanning multiple sectors, economic relationships that gave Earth influence over critical resources. What has changed, continued, is that we are no longer hiding our capabilities. Guardian units are transitioning from covert to semi-overt operations. Their protective mandate has been expanded to include active defense of human interests throughout the galaxy. The implications were clear. Earth's hidden assets were coming out of the shadows, not retreating into them. What has remained the same, added, is our commitment to peaceful coexistence with species that respect human sovereignty and human citizens. Guardian units have strict orders to avoid unnecessary conflict and to prioritize diplomacy over force. Ambassador Hun, representing the Aquatic Confederacy, raised a concern that many delegates shared. Doctor, how can the Council trust assurances from a species that maintained such extensive deception for so long? It was who answered, his image appearing on the main display from his position in the forests of Earth. Ambassador, you can trust us for the same reason you've trusted us for 20 years without knowing it. Guardian units have been operating in your territories for 2 decades without causing harm to your people or interfering in your internal affairs. He paused, letting the weight of that statement sink in. We could have acted against your interests at any time. We chose not to. That choice continues to define our operations. But's next words carried a subtle warning. However, our restraint should not be mistaken for weakness. Recent events have demonstrated that some species require education regarding appropriate behavior toward humanity. The reference to the failed hunting expedition sent a clear message species that threatened Earth would face consequences. But those consequences would be precisely calibrated rather than randomly destructive. Chancellor Yu attempted to regain control of the discussion. The Council must address the legal status of these enhanced beings. Are they citizens of Earth, military assets, something else entirely? Sarah had been prepared for this question. Enhanced Guardians are legal citizens of Earth with all the rights and protections that status entails. They are also volunteer members of our planetary defense forces, serving with full legal authority under human law. The legal framework was bulletproof. Guardian units weren't illegal weapons or unauthorized military assets. They were citizens exercising their rights to travel, settle, and protect their home world's interests. However, Sarah continued, their legal status comes with corresponding responsibilities. Guardian units are authorized to take whatever action they deem necessary to protect human citizens, human interests, and human sovereignty throughout the galaxy. The broad authorization sent another wave of concern through the Assembly. It essentially gave every Guardian unit autonomous authority to act as Earth's representative in any situation involving human welfare. Representative T from the Hives posed the question that everyone was thinking. Doctor, what does Earth want from the Council? Sarah's answer was surprisingly simple. Recognition, respect, and the understanding that humanity is no longer petitioning for acceptance into galactic civilization. We're already here, and we're here to stay. She gestured to the display showing Guardian operations across the galaxy. Enhanced beings will continue their protective missions, but they'll do so openly. Human citizens will travel freely throughout galactic space, knowing that their safety is guaranteed by capabilities you're only beginning to understand. The session continued for hours, but the fundamental message was clear. Humanity had revealed enough of their true capabilities to establish themselves as a major power, while keeping enough secrets to maintain their strategic advantage. As the delegates filed out of the assembly hall, conversations buzzed with new calculations and revised assumptions. Species that had previously viewed humans as useful junior partners were now evaluating them as potential equals or even threats. Others were considering the benefits of closer cooperation with a civilization that had demonstrated such sophisticated long-term planning. Doctor remained in her seat as the hall emptied, finally allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. 6 months ago, she had sat in this same chamber and endured mockery of her species' supposed primitiveness. Today, She had watched as the galaxy's most powerful civilizations came to terms with a new reality. Humanity was no longer the newcomer asking permission to join the galactic community. They were an established power setting their own terms for participation. Its image appeared on her personal communicator. Doctor, status report from the home front. All Guardian units have successfully transitioned to semi-overt status. No incidents, no casualties, minimal resistance from local populations. Excellent work, she replied. Maintain current protocols and continue monitoring for threats to human interests. Understood, and Doctor's enhanced features showed what might have been satisfaction. The mockery has stopped. Indeed it had. Across the galaxy, the laughter that had once greeted mentions of Earth's creatures had been replaced by careful silence and thoughtful consideration. Humanity's legends had revealed themselves to be more real than fiction and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones that prefer to remain hidden. And sometimes, when you mock Earth's creatures, you discover that Earth's creatures have been watching you all along. Humanity had finally taken its rightful place among the stars, not as supplicants seeking acceptance, but as guardians protecting their own interests with capabilities that their enemies could neither predict nor counter. The age of human deference was over. The age of human strength had begun. Earth wasn't a primitive world lucky enough to achieve. It was a sophisticated civilization that had been playing a game none of the other species had even realized existed. And humanity, as always, had been playing to win. Echo through the galactic community for generations to come. Humanity's hidden guardians had revealed themselves, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The hunt was about to begin, but the aliens had no idea who was really the prey. Inning to grasp that their mockery might have just awakened something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined.